Hey, everybody. Thank you for choosing to join us again with another Trustworthy Live. And this time we are interviewing and bringing to you Cameal Harris. And Christina, tell us a little bit about Cameal because I know you've known her for quite a few years.
Absolutely. So I've known Camille for about 4 to 5 years, and she's one of my most favorite people. I originally met her through a coaching and coachee relationship. I was her coach, and I have never seen someone show up for themselves the way she has every single day through her personal growth, through her professional growth, through her growth in all facets in her life. What I love about what she is bringing to our audience in our interview is she showing us that it's not just about talking the talk, it's about walking the walk, but then she's taking it to the next level. She's actually showing us how she can go from her personal growth, trusting herself, and how she can propel that to be a force for good and really sharing it with other people.
Which is exactly how our trustworthy model works, right? It's about trusting yourself and then trusting another and then teams and then the organization. And for those of you who have not really learned yet about our trustworthy model, we can put it in the show notes for you. But in the meantime, I am really excited as well as how Camille wove psychological safety and gave some very concrete tips to our audience around how to create that safety net in order to build a more trusting environment. And the other thing that I think you guys are going to love is she tied it into business ROIs. She tied it into productivity. She tied it into what business leaders are looking for. So with that, let's just dive in and learn everything that Camille has to do, has to share with us today.
Let's do it.
Bye, guys.
Hi, everyone. We are so excited to have you again joining us for another Trustworthy Live. Now, I've got two of my favorite people joining me today. Of course, you know my co-host Susan Spires. She is my woman in the wings, and I am her woman in the wings, supporting each other through our trustworthy mission. And we are
I love how
super
we do that, right?
Yeah. And then we've got really one of my most favorite people, Cameal Harris, who is the CEO and principal of Change Activate. And if you haven't heard of Change Activate, you have to check them out. So Camille is the brain trust behind Change Activate, and we're so excited to have her here today because she has so much wealth to share. So hi, Camille, welcome.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Christina and Suzanne. It's such a pleasure to be here today.
Of
Yeah.
course. And we love to have you. I mean, I think one of the things we were discussing behind the scenes was how long we've known each other. And I don't think we could
Mhm.
actually put our finger on the date,
Yeah.
but it's been a while, right? It's been about four or
Yes.
5 years.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And
How
I
did you go? How
feel
did you guys meet? Can I ask? I don't know if I heard that story.
Wasn't it? It was on Facebook.
it was on
No.
Facebook.
It
Yeah.
was, I believe it was on Facebook. I think I was in a change management group and I wanted questions about, what certifications were out there. And Chris reached out and then she started coaching me. We started a coaching relationship that turned into a friendship. And yeah, the rest is history.
So I
Yeah.
think that we can say that social media platforms actually can result in trusting relationships that are
Yes,
started virtually, right?
yes. I've met quite a few of my friends on social media, especially on LinkedIn, believe it or not, like really great friends. So social media can.
It can bring us together.
hmm
Definitely. I think it's an equal balance with social media, especially these days, because there is so much out there. But I think what I love about and I'm sharing a little bit more for the rest of the audience because at Trustworthy we truly believe that trust begins with self-trust.
hmm
And it's core to how you develop relationships with other people and how you build trust with other people. I have never, ever met a coachee that takes your mission and your commitment to yourself so seriously before in my life. You were the most incredible coachee. You were 100% committed to yourself. You knew that you wanted to build professional confidence. You had a very clear goal, and you showed up every single day for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm keen to find out as well if you share a little bit more about your story with everyone here, they can get a little bit more insight to how you achieve that.
Yeah, sure. And like I always said, it was from a great facilitator. Chris, you did such an amazing job facilitating that and bringing that out in me. But a lot of it was intentionality. I was intentional about all my actions. And even when I mentioned earlier that I've met a lot of great friends online, is because of that intention behind it. So I feel like it was just intentionality and ensuring that I was showing up day to day. The
Hey,
big
Cameal,
difference.
can I just ask one question for our audience? What do you mean by intentionality? I think we all use that word a lot. Explain what it means to you, and in specifically as it relates to the relationship you have with Chris.
Um, it's like I said, it's just okay. The only way I can explain it is like using a story. And it's not relatable, but I'm always saying to my husband, we have to be intentional. So for example, if we're going on a vacation, I said, what are we trying to get out of this vacation? And I always tell him, say it out loud, say, okay, it's going to be one that we're going to get closer together, or we're going to have fun, or whatever it might be. So I live my life like that though. So every day I live with intentions. And I've noticed that when I am intentional about everything, about my relationships, what do I want it to look like? Who I want to be in my career, what do I want my business to represent, about my brand, it all falls in place. But before I got there, I can say the difference between me today and me 5 years ago was something really important that I've learned. It wasn't a matter of building professional confidence. It was a matter of trusting myself. So I had the fear was there. There was a lot of fear there. It wasn't that I didn't have it inside of me already. It was just a fear. And what I did was I just made actions and decided to do it afraid. And what happened when you do that, when you keep showing up, is the more you do those actions and the more you see the positive of it, it's kind of learned behavior, positive reinforcement. It creates internal trust. And from it creating internal trust, it helps with that confidence. So it's all coming to one circle, I believe.
That's it. That's it. And I feel like, for all of our viewers out there, you could probably relate to some of this as well, because there are probably actions that you are taking or potentially not taking that you're seeing as evidence potentially of many failures, or that you didn't do that, or that you didn't show up. But what I want to challenge you to do is to also look at the evidence that already exists of where you are showing up. And
Right.
that's what you want to reinforce, because the more you collect of that evidence, the more you see, the stronger your discipline muscle becomes to be able to show up consistently through all facets of your life, not just at work, but in the professional world too. Isn't that right, Cameal?
Yes, most definitely. A lot of times people are waiting for that fear to leave or for them to feel like it. You're never going to feel like it. You just have to do it afraid. And by doing it afraid, it's building muscles just like any other muscle. And that is how you build trust in self. 100%. You know, since then, I've went to speak on global stages. I went to write a book, you know, stand in rooms of executives, champion change, champion transformation. And that was something I wasn't able to do before. It wasn't that I wasn't able to do before. I didn't have the self-confidence or the trust in myself to do it before. Another thing is that might be, I've seen changes also in my personal relationships, with friendships, or in networking settings, because I trust myself and have confidence that I deserve to be in the room, and I matter to this person and I'm bringing value to this relationship. So I've seen that me working on myself in this area of myself, it has transformed into so many other areas of my life.
So I absolutely love that. And I love the fact that it's a journey, right? You can always get better and better at it. It's just like you go to the gym to exercise that muscle. Do you have any specific tools or things that you have used in order to help you build that confidence that you could share with our audience? For example, I would say for me, I know that deep breathing, like, you know, when I get really stressed and I'm thinking, am I going to jump into something or not jump into it, or do it or not do it? I just slow down and I do some deep breathing, and somehow that gives me the grounding that I need to move forward. Do you have any tools that you could share with our audience?
You know, Suzanne, I'm a little bit different because, and I'm wondering if there's anyone in the audience that can relate to me. You know, a lot of people say journaling or deep breathing. It doesn't work for me. It feels a little bit cliche, like, okay, I deep breathe. What now for me is understanding my style, my personality style. Like, I did a DISC assessment and I understood that I love structure. Like, structure is very important to me. And without structure, I tend to get, you know, frazzled. My husband is quite the opposite. But understanding myself, I also understood boundaries. It was something that was important. So there were boundary settings with my spouse, boundary settings with my family, boundary settings with work, boundary setting with clients, and being upfront and let people know, okay, this is who I am, this is my style, and this is how you can work better with me. When I did that and I understood what I need, I was able to give myself that. So I gave myself boundaries and I gave myself structure. So I realized I'm the type of person, I need to have goals and lists and objective, and I need to have my personal KPIs and all those things. That's my personality. So as I look at my goal and I look at those benchmarks and all those things, I'm the type of person is the more that I'm checking stuff off, it gives me a sense of relief. So for me, it's just about getting it done. Like, the deep breathing don't work for me because I'm deep breathing and I'm thinking about what I need to do next. Journaling really don't work for me. What worked for me is listing, just making a list and setting clear boundaries. So what I would say to people is you have to first understand and embrace who you are. The second thing you have to do is you cannot compare yourself to other people. There's so many, you know, we're so different. Some of us have neurodivergent. Some of us have, you know, just, you know, various disabilities. Some of us have various shortcomings. So we have to really embrace our individuality, which is very important. And that, you know, and it goes back again to self-trust. It was really embracing and my individuality and what I need. And even the things, and coming face to face with also the parts of me that are not perfect. Like, I know I'm a horrible speller. I think I have dyslexic. I think I was not diagnosed. You know, they missed the mark. I grew up in Jamaica, but it's crazy. Like, I would write something and then an hour later I go back and I was like, oh my goodness, like, I wrote that, like, my brain doesn't register it. And being okay with those quirks, being okay with all of that. Like, early on, I wasn't okay with that. I felt like I had to show up as this perfect self. you know, I was carrying baggage of, childhood, like I was a teen mom. And in my culture, being a teen mom, it's a no-no. It's all about being a good girl, being from the Caribbean culture, going to school. You do stuff like that. You're bad, you're this, all the things. And I always feel like I had something to prove. One of the first things I did when I came to America at 21 is I went to college, and I wanted to get the degree and to get the job, but that shadow self was always there. And part of what happened during coaching, and Chris, I remember you said something one time you didn't realize. You're like, girl, I'm not a good speller either. And you were just so free with it. She was like, I ain't a good speller either. She was so free with it that it was refreshing. And, it's like, it goes back again to me saying, in order to build trust in self, you really have to know yourself and own yourself, like own all of you, all of this, own it. And what works for one person might not work for you, but you are a superhuman and super duper incredible and awesome, just the way you are and how you are. You just have to tap into that superpower, So that's what I would say.
That was powerful. I mean, you've definitely showcased not only how you've become unstoppable, but how others can become unstoppable. And there's a term that you coined, I remember, stinking thinking.
Yes, stinking thinking.
Tell everyone what stinking thinking is.
Yeah, I don't think I came up with a term. I think it existed. I don't know, but for me, stinking thinking is those stories you'll be telling yourself, like ridiculous stories. And another thing I realized, look, this is going to be raw and real. Okay, so for example, a lot of people are afraid to show up on LinkedIn. For whatever reason, they will show up on Facebook, they will show up on all the platform, but they're so, it's like, I can't show up on LinkedIn, right? Because they think they're going to say the wrong thing, and, they're not going to be whatever it is enough. Even sometimes it might be on Insta or one of those other platforms. Maybe they have a product, maybe they have something to tell the world.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Like, nobody's thinking about you. You're not that important. Nobody's looking at what you're saying and be like, man, look at how she said that. She didn't say it the right way. Like, we really think the world revolves around us. We really do. But when we realize, like, nobody cares, nobody's really, wishing for your demise. If anything, people want to see you do good. And in a world, I would say, in a world of artificial intelligence, right now, the human brain is scanning for errors. The human brain, we're so used and we're so tired of everything AI, everything that's being written online. It goes through this AI thing. It's crazy, but people are also using AI to respond in comments like, what is this we're coming to? Because of that, the brain is constantly scanning for errors, and even when we're having conversation, everyone is always looking for that authenticness in people because of where we're at. So when you are showing up with that level of authenticity, and I can't even say the word, but
you got it. You got it.
Authenticity, it is refreshing. And I believe this is one of the reasons why I have been able to be successful in my career and what I do, because I am Cameal no matter where I am, who I'm talking to, or what I'm doing. I am the Cameal everywhere I go. And at one point in my life, that was something I was ashamed of. I was ashamed of my accent. I would feel like I wasn't good enough because, I couldn't pronounce certain things or I couldn't spell certain way. It was ridiculous. Like right now, like I'm doing my doctorate and all the things, like, and I lean into these quirks, and I'm telling you, like, I am a one woman show. Like, I have a team, I have a few teams that help me here and there, but I'm the one that have to show up and close these deals, right? I am a 40-year-old woman from Jamaica. I'm I'm a Afro-Caribbean woman, a woman of color. I don't have any you know, come from any family, and we are first generation immigrants, but people trust me. Like leaders trust me. And the reason why they trust me is because I am so real and I'm so raw. So, and because they see this and they realize that, oh, she trusts herself. So if she trusts herself to do this, then I am going to trust her.
That is great. I was just going to ask you, how do people react to you? And do you find that because you're so authentic and so real and you show up exactly who you are, do you find that others do that around you as
Yes.
well? Or do they struggle a little bit? And then how do you manage that?
You know, I have had so many people now that I've come into this version of myself tell me, Camille, you disarm me. You make me feel safe. You make me feel safe. That's what people say. No one feels like they struggle around me. Everyone is like, she's so quirky. You know, I'm so goofy. And then you're looking at, you know, the impact that I bring. And then she's like, oh my goodness, but she's so goofy. So it disarmed people and people feel safe around me.
So it's almost like you trust yourself and you
Mhm.
trust others, and then that allows them to trust you as well.
Yes.
That's
And it
brilliant.
helps with relationship, it helps with business, it helps with closing deals. People, it's the world that we're living in. People are looking for the real. So if you can be you, you already are standing apart. You're already a part of, you know, separated from the pack. You know, people are saying, what is your differentiator, you know, in business or in career? Your differentiator is you. Your differentiator is you being you. Stop trying to be like everyone else. Like, stop trying to be this perfect version of Chris. You know, like I'm trying to be Chris. I'm not Chris. I'm trying to be Suzanne. I'm Camille. Stop trying to. That's your differentiator. That is what's going to propel you. Is being you, and that's how you build trust, and what helps you with your career in the long run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think this is a good opportunity because we've covered a couple of topics that I feel like we should take to the next level. How do you feel
Mm.
about taking it to the next level?
I love taking it to the next level.
All right,
Susan, how do you
let's
feel
do
about
it.
taking it to the next level?
How you feeling, Susan? All right, so there's a couple of topics that we've hinted on. So the first topic we just finished and we hinted on was around AI and the fact that, you know, with AI, even though there's a lot of hype and excitement, there's also the rise of mediocrity. It's all the same all the time. And so how you show up being authentic to yourself matters more than ever. That is the key differentiator. I'm very curious because AI is not the biggest thing that's happening in the world right now. The world is feeling very small and it's feeling really difficult currently. And as someone who knows themselves and who shows up for yourself, how do you show up for yourself in this world with what is going on with mass and targeted deportations? And it's not just the deportations; it's far more than that, and it's been far longer than that. So
Yeah.
I just want to crack the door open to a wider conversation because it's very easy to be yourself when you're comfortable. How do you
Yeah.
be yourself in a world that is uncomfortable?
Wow, that's a very deep one. A very deep one. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure it out. It's all so new, and the only thing I can do is control what I can control. And I feel like it's a sense of trying to figure out what are those things that I can control in these times. You know, I can control how I show up, how I model kindness, how I model openness, you know, how I model being authentic. I can I try to not indulge too much in the media because I'm an empath. So things affect me at a very, very deep level. But one of the biggest thing is controlling what I can and enjoying what I can. There's something else that's been going on too. And we never talk about this before, but it's something that's been on my mind. I've been seeing a lot of people getting sick. A lot of friends, I've had friends, I have two friends that were younger than me. They died at 35 with cancer. I don't know what's going on with this cancer thing. It's having me, and my dog just died of cancer. So it's having me really, it's not just what's going on politically, or what's going on with AI, what's going on in the workplace. There's something going on in the health environment that no one is even touching at. So what it's doing for me is I appreciate every single day, every single moment. I don't let anything stress me the way it used to. Small things like a business deal or something that we're, working on. I see it as it is what it is. But one of the most important thing is to control what I can. And I have a mission that I am really championing right now, and that's creating healthy organization, helping leaders to create healthy organizations. And it's around because I realize that people are dealing with so much, but majority of their time is at work, and they're dealing with all these changes. They cannot quit their job because there's that fear. How many people got laid off the other 350,000 women of color I heard, and probably more than that. I don't know, all type of people. So people are not quitting, but what people are doing are quietly disengaging.
So I love the fact that you start with what can I control, what can I not control, how and how part of what you control is how you show up and what you decide to focus on and prioritize. But I want to share with our audience. I don't know if you all know, but I'm from Minneapolis, St. Paul. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on right now that's very raw. We kind of feel like we're ground zero. And Cameal, you did something when we started this conversation that I want to talk a little bit about because you asked me how you took a moment to not just control what you're controlling for you, but you asked me how I was doing. You asked me how I was in this moment. And that question alone, and then you stood back and gave me space to respond. And you clearly demonstrated that you were listening to what I was saying. So taking the time to care about who I was, how I was showing up, what I was going through, and then listening to the response and reacting to it created this trust that I knew I could trust you. I knew that you were in my court in some way and that you really cared about me. Can you talk about how we as leaders can create the space, the environment, the culture where we show up for our employees, our teams, our colleagues, so that not only do they trust us, but we can trust them and we can, I guess, in some ways move forward beyond the stuff they're dealing with right now in order to get back to business. So talk a little bit about what you do when you interact with your colleagues and your teams and give us any hints and ideas that you might have.
Sure. So there's something that I take leaders through when I'm coaching them or advising them on building psychological safety. And I created this infographic that it's a good visual to really look at. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
So I call it the leader psychological safety checklist. And these are some of the things leaders want to ask themselves. And I'm going to give you the rationale behind it. So the first one is I share expectations clearly. So never assume, that people know exactly what to do. And especially during a time like this where everyone's nervous system is just fried and everyone fight or flight is just at an all-time high. What helps the brain to regulate and to calm down is clear expectations. So it's okay to be, you're going to have to be a little bit more patient. You're going to have to really ensure that we're giving employees clear expectations. The second one, I respond with curiosity. Instead of being quick to judge or being quick to reprimand, be curious, try to understand why this individual might be reacting in X, Y, or Z way. Understand that right now people are under a lot of stress. They are spending 8 hours with you at this job, but when they go home, there's another world to face. Be curious in those when you're asking questions, like genuinely be curious about how are your employees doing? Why did you do that? How do you think about what were you thinking about this? Not in a condescending way, but in a way that really shows that you care. Normalize mistake. You want to make sure that say to people, it's okay. I make mistakes at times. Make normalizing mistake a part of your culture. The next one, I listen without defensiveness. A lot of people say that they have an open door policy. They have an open door policy until people say something that they don't want them to say, right? If you have an open door policy, truly have an open door policy. Listen without being defensive, and it goes back again, asking those questions from a curious place. I model calm. When someone is irritated or upset or panicky or whatever it is, as leaders, it's our job to stay calm. And I know it's a lot because we have a lot dealing with too. And that is one of the reasons why leaders need to be in coaching or need to be in therapy, because we have to be calm for our people. And that's why you are the leaders. The next one, I protect my team from chaos. Be your team's champion. There's going to be directives coming down from people in corporate, from directors, executives. And a lot of times they're not understanding what it's like from day to day. And this is for my people managers and from my supervisors. You are the one that's in the room. Stand up for them, protect them from that chaos. And the final one, I close every communication loop. And what this looks like is someone gives you feedback. Make sure that you are responding. Make sure that you are following up. Even if you don't have the questions, the answer there, you can say, let me get back to you. But you want to ensure that you're closing those loops. So, and I have it at the end, safety is a leadership behavior. It's not a feeling, because we're not going to feel like it. We are going through stuff as well. But to understand that to create safety, it's kind of part of our job description, it's a part of that behavior. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys that as just a visual you can look at.
So Cameal, I absolutely love this. And could you just bridge those concepts into how that creates trust for our audience? So why do they have to care about this?
Let me bridge it in a way that makes sense to leaders. And what makes sense to them is the bottom is the KPIs. A disengage, and I have some data right here, and I'm going to pull it up if that's okay. So Susan, you asked the question, why should leaders care? This is the reason why they should care. There was a survey done by the Gallup poll, and it shows that only 23% of employees are engaged at work globally. That is almost 80% of people are disengaged. What does that mean? There is, in dollars and cents, almost 9 trillion loss annually in revenue because of disengagement. Yes, that's globally, but in the US alone is 1.9 trillion. And what I have here is people aren't leaving their job. They're emotionally checking out. And a disengaged employee can cost a company the equivalent of 18 to 34% of their salary in lost output. So if I put this on the screen again, and you can see the checklist, something as simple as this pulls people back in.
So you did a really good job at showing us that creating psychological safety creates trust in our employees, our teams, and colleagues, which ultimately ends up creating cultures so where employees are more engaged, more productive. And so it's actually measured. But talk a little bit about what this has to do about trust and how can trust be measured? Like, will people like even think that trust can be
Yeah.
measured? Talk a little bit about that.
Companies spend a lot of time looking at KPIs like optics, financial, and trust, safety, psychological safety, managing change and adoption. Those things are a lot of times sweep under the rug, are not looked at. But those are KPIs that can be tracked because this is how it shows up when there's a lack of trust. High turnover rate, that's one. Low engagement, that's two. Low adoption, if you spend millions on this new process or tool, that's three. And what trust is, and I want companies to understand that it's not about this new incentive package that you guys might have. It's not all the time something tangible. It's those non-tangible things. It's how people feel when they are spending that 8 hours of work. It's how work gets done. It's how people show up day to day and how they put their best foot forward.
That's right. I love that. I love that. You're right. I mean, trust is driven by the behaviors that people choose to make day in and day out, whether you're an employee with no team to manage or whether you're a people manager or a leader. There are behaviors that lead to outcomes that can be measured 100%.
Yes.
So I guess I would like to recap and reflect on a little bit of our conversation today, because again, we have touched on a number of different topics. And what I love about having you join us is that you bring a perspective from a journey that you went on yourself.
Yeah.
And that you are now, you've gone back to university, you're in the process of getting your doctorate so that you can bring that to everyone else and continue to bring it because you're already bringing it through Change Activate. So what would be your key takeaway for everyone that's listened to today? Because we have covered some difficult conversations and some inspirational conversations.
My key takeaway goes back to trusting yourself. It all starts with trusting yourself. And once you trust yourself and you're intentional, all of that, it spreads from in you to outside of you. And you see those trusts in how people trust you in your business, in how your team can trust you. Because when you trust yourself, other people start trusting you. The second thing is be your true, authentic self. No one can do you better than you can do you, right? The third one is listen to your employees, listen to your team, model those behaviors that you would like, and really just have empathy with what everyone else is going through right now. So those are those key takeaways.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
I loved it. Thank you.
Welcome.
I think is it time to wrap up?
Yes.
Sadly, I think it is. But I really appreciate this conversation with you, Cameal. Susan and I have been like bursting at the seams trying to make sure that this conversation happened because we just knew it was going to be incredible. We've spoken to you before. We have snippets from our last conversation that we also can't wait to share with all of our audience. And I'm sure this isn't going to be the last time. So I just want to pause and say thank you. We really do appreciate you sharing your wisdom, your insights, and your life experience with everyone.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you showing up today and being your authentic self. It really led to a pretty rich conversation. So,
Really did.
and we're really excited we can share this with our audience. Thank you, Cameal.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Well, we're closing for today's Trustworthy Live. But remember, if you want to learn more about Cameal, take a look at the description in the main body in the bio below. We'll add a couple of links to some of those helpful resources that she had flashed on the screen. Yes. And make sure to continue to subscribe to our content, and we will always bring you some wonderful humans from around the world to have these great conversations around trust. Thank you, and see you next
guys.
time.
See you next time.
And we're done. I was like trying to find the stop record button, but I don't